Hi guys, welcome back to Set Speaks. In today's video, I will be discussing the character comparisons between Sam Wilson and John Walker from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. One of the main themes of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the legacy of Captain America. The show does a wonderful job in presenting John Walker as a foil to not just Sam Wilson, but also Steve Rogers. And this characterization was just so wonderfully done because not only does it compare and contrast Sam and Walker, but it also highlights and shows why Sam was meant to be Captain America, and Walker also represents who Steve could have become after Bucky died. MCU fans would have been already familiar with Sam Wilson since his first appearance in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. But he's not really a character that we know too much about. We know that he's incredibly loyal since he went on the run with Steve for 2 years following the events of Civil War. And we know that he's funny and he's also a little bit cheeky. But the show also goes on to emphasize that Sam is optimistic, perseverant, compassionate, patient, and most of all, he's empathetic. Sam wanted to help his sister out, and he believes that he can help her with the bank, and he refuses to give up when Sarah was pretty much ready to do so. He has faced a lot of struggles as a black man, from being denied a loan at the bank and even being racially profiled by officers in Baltimore despite being an Avenger. But he doesn't allow that to make him jaded or even cynical. His struggles only allow him to be more empathetic. When he and Walker were discussing the Flag Smashers, it already shows that he and Walker have different perspectives given their different backgrounds.
Yeah, violent revolutionaries aren't usually good for anyone's cause.
Usually save other people with the resources.
So again, Sam knows what it's like to struggle, not just as a black man, but also as someone who did not have a lot, and that just shaped his mindset and the person that he has become. His compassionate nature and willingness to compromise was highlighted in the third episode. He doesn't think that breaking Zemo out of prison was a good idea, but he eventually compromises with Bucky. And we get to see in that episode that Sam genuinely cares about people, particularly Bucky and Sharon. He makes sure that Bucky is okay after pretending to be the Winter Soldier again. And he even appears to be genuinely apologetic towards Sharon for not reaching out after the events of Civil War. In these scenes, you're shown that he's a guy who genuinely cares about people and not just what they can offer him. Sam cares so much about others, and that's why he's conflicted about taking up the mantle of Captain America. The America that Steve represented was not the same America to Sam. This America, particularly the government, treated Isaiah Bradley horribly and erased him from history. This America was the one that left Sharon and didn't even try to pardon her after they pardoned Steve, whom she was only helping. And as a contrast to Sam, we get John Walker, who was given the Captain America mantle by the government. Walker, from the beginning, is depicted as a man with a lot of privileges and is the epitome of the perfect soldier. He appeared humble when we're first introduced to him because he seems to understand the heavy weight of the expectations of taking up the shield. But the thing about Walker is that he lacks the empathy and compassion that Sam possesses. He sees the mantle and sees it as a position of power. He sees himself as better and superior to others because he is Captain America. And his perspective on the Flag Smashers in episode 2 is evidence of his privilege, and by the end of that episode, we actually see him misuse his authority as Captain America. He puts an end to Bucky's therapy sessions despite the therapist's objections, and he even refers to Bucky as an asset. So that shows that he only sees what Bucky can offer him to help finish the job. His lack of empathy and compassion was further emphasized in the third episode. He doesn't bother to attempt to communicate with the man at the beginning of the episode, and he treats him roughly when the man tells him he doesn't care if he's Captain America.
We know she came through here, now where'd she go? Do you know who I am?
Yes, I do, and I don't care.
So we begin to see that the power is starting to go to his head. He believes himself to be superior to everyone else just because of a title, and he doesn't care about the people except for what they can offer him, which is why he's not the right person to carry on the Captain America mantle. and he thinks that being Captain America makes him invincible and that he's owed explanations and answers when he demands them. While the first 3 episodes focused more on the contrasting personalities between Sam and Walker, episode 4 is where the show explicitly demonstrates why Sam should be Captain America, and it was all done in conversations and interactions regarding the super soldier serum. When Zemo asked Sam if he would have taken the serum had it been offered to him, he said no without any hesitation. The serum could give the user enhancements, but enhancements don't make someone a better person or more of a hero. Sam knows this. After all, he doesn't have any enhancements, but he does use the Falcon Wings and Red Wing technology as an Avenger. He doesn't get insecure about his lack of superpowers, despite having been surrounded by 2 super soldiers and a telepath. I believe that his lack of insecurity towards powered abilities also has to do with him being around Tony Stark, whose power was his brilliance and his Iron Man suits, Rhodey, who was also brilliant and had the War Machine suit, and even Natasha Romanoff, even although we don't really know whether she has any enhancements in the MCU or not. These characters don't have powers, but have technology or skills that they used instead of relying on super strength or other powers. And this is not a bad thing, but a good thing. Being around more people who lack powers allows Sam to be more secure in his mindset in regards to him being a hero. By contrast, John Walker hasn't been around the Avengers, and he wants to be just as great as his predecessor was. Walker was under the belief that the serum would make him just as great as Steve was, or maybe even more. So he's under the mindset that super strength is what makes someone a hero. And he doesn't hesitate to take the super soldier serum after he was defeated by the Dora Milaje.
They weren't even super soldier.
He is also shown to be incredibly reckless and aggressive, and he jeopardizes the rapport that Sam was building with Carly because he wanted to arrest her right away, whereas Sam was willing to take his time and talk to Carly and not treat her like a villain. And this was also the same episode that shows Walker as a foil to Steve Rogers. The main parallel between Walker and Steve was that they lost their best friend, but they dealt with their grief in different ways. Steve, who was not the perfect soldier, he just vowed to kill Hydra after Bucky died, and he kept to himself for the most part immediately after. Walker, who was the perfect soldier, abandons logic and reason and was merciless towards the innocent flag smasher whom he chased. And there was also another visual parallel between Steve and Walker in this episode, particularly when they used the shield to hurt someone. Steve used the shield to smash Tony's arc reactor in Civil War, but he eventually tosses the shield aside. But Walker uses the shield to decapitate someone and kill them in broad daylight. Unlike Steve, he doesn't throw away the shield. He puts it back on and doesn't show any remorse for what he had done. And these parallels are incredibly jarring because Steve could have easily become someone like Walker, but he chose not to let his loss and grief consume him. Now that I think about it, the same goes for Sam too, because in The Winter Soldier, it was mentioned that Sam had a partner named Riley that he lost, and like Steve, he doesn't let the loss consume him. And we don't really know what Sam did after he lost Riley. All we know was that despite the loss of his partner, Sam still manages to be compassionate and empathetic and kind. There was something else that Sam said too in episode 5 that really reinforced the idea that he was the perfect person to take up the Captain America mantle.
What would be the point of all the pain and sacrifice if I wasn't willing to stand up and keep fighting?
Steve's Captain America was a man who was willing to stand up and keep fighting no matter how bleak and hopeless things looked. This was a Captain America legacy, and Sam Wilson is the perfect person to uphold that. John Walker's Captain America maintained the status quo and only helped the privileged and the government, which is why he isn't fit to be Captain America. On the other hand, Sam's Captain America fights for everyone, the ones that don't have a voice, the ones who were forgotten, and the ones who were abandoned. Captain America isn't a military guy. He's not a perfect soldier. Captain America is a good man, and Sam Wilson is the epitome of a good man. And that's a wrap on the character comparison between Sam Wilson and John Walker from The Falcon and The Winter Soldier. Tune in next week for my video on Six of Crows and Leverage. Thank you guys so much for watching my video, and please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe.